Okay, so let's have, first things first, have a look at a definition for social media strategy, okay? So, what is a strategy? A strategy defines the relationships, their value, and sets out a plan to harness them to achieve a particular goal or set of goals, okay? Businesses can align a social media strategy to many different goals. They can improve the rate of innovation and new product development, okay? So that kind of ties it all together in a very higher level explanation. So I want to ask you guys, before we get stuck in, why do you think we need a social media strategy? What is the use of one? Why should we have a social media strategy? If we've already got our business strategy, our content strategy, well, I suppose, I don't know if you can have a content strategy without a social media strategy, but why do you think that is, guys? Byron says, so that you keep your audience involved with your brand. Excellent. To have an integrated approach, Fatima says. Not wrong. Excellent. Let's see, anybody else? Okay, guys, so we've got to understand the strategy to be the thread that weaves together, that supports and that amplifies our brand experience for our users on our platforms, okay, for our audience. So think of it as a thread that ties everything together. That strategy keeps everything in check, and it allows us to be able to monitor and manage all of that, okay? At the end, you know, it directs our audience to the endpoints that we want to send them to as well. We need to have a plan. Oh, loads of answers coming in. Everybody's online today, Marcus says. It must be a little bit slow for that reason. So supporting components to your business strategy, Chris, excellent. Robert says to do even better. That's very general, but very right. Lindy says ties into our overall marketing strategy. Cecilia says to build a stronger brand experience so we can effectively manage our social media channels. Oluwafemi, that is brilliant. Two-way conversation. Angie says, okay, so you guys are like super engaged, loads of answers, it's excellent. Okay, so social media, guys, allows us to learn about our audience in a way more granular way than we have ever been able to before, okay? It lets us understand exactly who our customers are, who our followers are, because the two aren't the same thing, okay? Where they live, what their other interests are, what they value, and what they want from us, really, you know? And with that knowledge, which we haven't really had in the past, we can actually present customized content and digital experiences to them, but we can also make smarter and stronger business decisions. And social media and having a strategy for social media depends, I mean, getting all of that information depends heavily on having a social media strategy that feeds into our greater digital strategy, okay? So, here we've got, why do we need to have this strategy? So I just broke it down for you a little bit more, okay? So your buyers' decisions, they're really highly influenced by what they encounter on social platforms, okay? So nearly half, so that's 46%, okay? 46% of social media users are already using social platforms while thinking about making a purchase, okay? 40% of users are actively deciding what to buy based on what they've seen on social media platforms, okay? Including your reviews and recommendations. And guys, it's only set to grow, okay? That's from Smart Insights. That's stats, okay? So if you don't have a strategy, next point there, let me just get this out because my animation's not working. If you don't have a strategy, you're literally throwing the advantage away. You're giving it to your competitors, okay? You're giving them a boost. You're giving them a rocket, a jetpack. Okay, so having a lack of strategy, not having a strategy, totally gives advantage to your competition. Guys, the social web is still growing, and it's growing very, very fast, okay? Your customer is connected at all times, which means that they're online, okay? And they're, more importantly, on social media. Apparently, I read a stat the other day that 22% of the world's population are on social media channels, okay? You've got 3-point-something billion people using the internet, and 2 billion odd, 2 plus, are on social channels, okay? So it's really worthwhile keeping that in your mind, okay? Key influencers, okay? Platform-specific influencers. You need to have a look at what platforms you need to be using in order to harness the power of the influencers in your industry and to target your audience. Okay, do not underestimate the power of peer or influencer recommendation. Influencers are highly involved in purchase decisions, and like a huge amount of purchase decisions of their followers. And if your product isn't relevant to them, it's not relevant to their followers. Do you get me? Like, it's just as simple as that. And social media is where brands thrive or die. Okay, I've said this a couple of times throughout this part of the course. Do you remember the Applebee's story, by example? Rather be present to the conversation, even if it is negative, so that you can fix it if it's possible. Rather than being absent and not engaging with it at all. Just because it's out of sight doesn't mean that it's not happening. Okay, so it's really important to have a finger on this pulse. I find it difficult to even try and explain that to people because it's so obvious. Okay, cool, guys. So the simple reason for a strategy is to make life easier for yourselves when it comes to decision making and long-term implementation. And that's not just about social media strategy. That's any strategy for business, okay? I told you that your audience is going to change, okay? So is your strategy. Everything adapts and evolves and forms as your business grows and as your personal, as your personal efforts grow and change. So creating an effective social media strategy is about the effective integration of that strategy into your company's overall business strategy. Okay, and shaping it in such a way that it answers certain business goals and aims. It has to be in line with your business goals. Okay. Alrighty, so I've just got a couple of stats here for you. Okay. Basically, guys, the disintermediation. Does anyone know what that means? Okay, so the disintermediation of content, it means that you have to understand the role social media plays in customer communication. Richard says John Jantz, I'm probably mispronouncing that, the author of Duct Tape Marketing, says you must have strategy first before you have tactics too. So basically, content used to all come from the one place, guys. Now, it comes from every single person. There is no one authority. There are millions of authorities on content, okay? So what has happened is that social media and social media platforms allow for all of that information to come together in one place, particularly on spaces like Facebook, okay, where there are 2/3 of the people on the internet on that one platform. Okay, so let's have a look at the stats that I've got here. Okay, guys, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring up a definition here for you for disintermediation, because everybody's asking about it. Here we go. Disintermediation. Reduction in the use of intermediaries between producers and consumers, for example, by investing directly in the securities market rather than through a bank. Basically, that in reference to social media or to media in general nowadays, newspapers aren't as trusted, okay? They've all got, I know in South Africa, definitely, it's very hard to find free press. There's no one curating that content, or there are millions of people rather that are curating that content now, as opposed to big media houses that used to exist in the past. So everybody's a content producer nowadays. Okay, anyone with a computer, with an internet connection. Cecilia's saying can't even pronounce it. Disintermediation. Okay, so you've got it typed out there on the screen. Anyway, I showed you that. So. Excellent, guys. So deciding how to connect with customers is not a tactical decision, okay? It needs strategic thinking. And if you don't have a strategy, you're practically giving your customers and your followers to your competition. Richard, that's a great way of putting it. Cutting out the middleman. Exactly. So we're giving content straight to our audience. Okay, so if you have a look at the stats I've got on the screen now, okay, of active users, these are from I think it's September 2017, okay? So from Statista, it's a great site. Go and have a look at it. You can see the name here, okay? right, I keep bringing them up for you guys, but I think it's worth recalling, you know, what numbers we're dealing with. You know, if you're in the position where you don't know who your target market is yet, I'd suggest using the greater used, or kind of starting with the greater proportioned social channels. Okay, Facebook is popular for a reason, because everybody's there. Okay, Instagram is growing like crazy. In March this year there were 400 million users. Now there are 700 million users. Okay, Twitter, slow increase. Snapchat, slow increase comparatively. WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger were at 1 billion and now they're at 1.2 billion. YouTube was, I think, similarly at like 1.2 billion and now it's at 1.5, and Facebook has very recently gone over the 2 billion mark. It's incredible. Okay, so what I would suggest, it's all right, use Facebook for business to business and business to consumer. It's a really, really valuable platform. Facebook Messenger can now be used for marketing strategies as well, for marketing efforts. So we could have a look into that at a later stage. Okay, but that's kind of basically what I want to bring to you guys, is look at the platforms that you can use first and foremost. Okay, and what we're going to do now is I'm going to break them down for you a little bit. If anyone's done the content marketing semester, there is, I mean, there's a little bit of repetition, but not too much. Okay, so just so you are aware, these are kind of the big six that we should, or I suggest putting a focus on as spaces of dissemination. Okay, so communicating with your audience. I know a lot of people talk about YouTube as being a channel to use. It is a very, very popular channel, but did you know actually that it is the second largest search engine in the world after Google? It's incredible. So it's used as almost a repository for content, as opposed to somewhere, I know there are a lot of people that do engage on the videos, but as a marketing tool, advertising is great on it, but using the channel to interact with your audience, not on the same level as Facebook and the rest here. Okay, so moving forward with what I would like to talk about, okay, is some of these platforms that are there for you to take advantage of. So for some of you, you might already be active on one or a few of these, okay, which is cool. Then you will actually already know which ones might best be suited to certain things. But just to make sure that you guys are all on the same page, and you know, it'll be helpful for those of you who are thinking about branching out or into a new space. Okay, and here we're gonna have a look at and talk about some of the content that can be effective on those. Okay, so right, it's our old faithful. So when we talk about social media strategies, one of the first deciders is where we plan to take the strategy to market. Not so? Okay, so Facebook is that old faithful. Okay, there's a reason that a lot of people are on it. There's, I think it's 2 in 7 globally now. Okay, it's got a massive, massive user base. And the option of creating 6 different types of company page, whether it's a small store or an enterprise, that's a good one. Okay, and that's not to mention as well the huge number of advertising options that are available to us there as well, and they just keep growing. Okay, then there's Google Plus. All right, although it isn't widely used as a social media channel, the creator Google, its searches account for 68% of searches worldwide. Okay, I think it's actually higher now. I think it's closer to 80%. So posts that are put up on Google, okay, on Google Plus, are auto-indexed by Google. Okay, so this helps your SEO. You know, the connection between social media and indexing is a challenge at best, right? And Google Plus content is auto-indexed by Google. Okay, that leads to a lot better search results for your content and much higher SEO. You get more authority. Okay, they're also the mom and dad of YouTube. Okay, Google owns YouTube, and it's a very, very good idea to engage with. Okay, if you have video content in your strategy. All right, so next one is LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn is a business platform. Okay, this is a very good B2B platform, but it also works very well as a platform for research and development. Okay, within your sector, you can see exactly what your industry is up to. There's also huge potential for being a thought leader here. TL stands for thought leadership. Okay, you can become a thought leader in your field, and there's massive potential for that on LinkedIn. If you have a voice, if you're creating content on your website, you can cross share it on LinkedIn. Okay, it's important that you do that, particularly if you're working within the business field. Okay, and it is mainly for B2B, although it is good for any business owner or any individual really in your particular, for networking and that sort of thing. It's quite important to have a LinkedIn page if you're working on digital at all. Okay, think about it. If you go for a job in digital marketing and you don't have a digital, a LinkedIn page, you're going to be looked at a little bit strangely. Okay, next one is Instagram. Okay, Instagram is a very, very highly visual medium. Okay, so again, if you're in an industry like travel and fashion and lifestyle and food, it's a spectacular channel for that. Okay, it's recently been purchased by Facebook, not so recently anymore. Okay, that means that you can advertise across both platforms at the same time. Okay, they've also got a growing user base. They've got 120, so how much was it? 120 million users most recently. 120, 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion? I might be wrong. No, it was 1.2 billion, wasn't it? So they had 150, no. Sorry, guys. It was 700. Let me just take us back there. There we go. 700 million. Okay. In January, it was, let me just bring us right back here. Okay. Sorry about that. So in January, guys, it was at 100 million. Okay. Sorry, 150 million. In October 2016, it was at 100 million. So that is extreme growth. Okay. There's a massively growing user base, and one of the platforms that are using a hashtag very well is Instagram. Okay, it's primarily mobile based, which is a little bit challenging because you can't manage ads from the app itself, or you can now, but as part of an integrated solution. I think Hootsuite offers an integrated solution now. But through your desktop, it's a little bit difficult. Okay, then there is Twitter. Okay, so Twitter is a channel that's used primarily for customer service purposes. It's a quick fire channel. Okay, it's instant. So I'd suggest using it for the same. Okay, use it. It's used frequently in order to keep content and engage with your customers. Okay, and also to do a lot of customer service. It is the home of the hashtag. It's where it was first developed. It's where the pound sign, as it's originally known, became the holy hashtag. Okay, you can trend search and you can follow conversations on it. It's really, really great. It's kind of where that began. Messages are nice and short and sweet. Okay, you've got concise, short content. So it's limited to 140 characters, if you guys didn't already know. And it's pretty much influencer paradise. Okay, so there are huge amounts of influencers on Twitter. It's kind of where you find them first, and then you go and see what other channels they're on. All right, so there are loads and loads of different ways of analyzing Twitter as well. There are loads of platforms where you can track your data for Twitter. Okay, and then finally, guys, Pinterest. All right, which is another highly visual channel, okay, which allows users to build boards of their favorite products. If you're not familiar with it, I'm just giving a brief explanation, okay? You can actually see the potential in this one, right? So you can build beautiful e-commerce connections with this because your users are already collecting objects they aspire to own on it, okay? Actually, worth knowing, 90% of the audience that are using Pinterest make purchases through it. Okay, really important to note that it's a smaller audience, but it is highly engaged and very, very keen to convert. Okay, and it has been predominantly female until recently, okay? The male user numbers are definitely on the rise. So it could be a very good option to think of moving forward. Okay, so guys, there are subtle differences between the roles each social network play in the purchase cycle. Okay, so as an example, Pinterest is a great place for people to find inspiration and to make the purchase. It also works well as a visual product, storyboard. Facebook is well suited to people looking to share content with family and friends. It's more of a word of mouth platform. So guys, I got hold of here on your screen 2 little pictures that are circulating on social media amongst marketers that I thought were pretty funny. So I just kind of recreated them on Canva. And it's basically how someone would use each channel. Okay, it's like a cheat sheet. And it shows you how to fail at using them as well. Okay, so it's kind of for your own perusal. If you do it wrong, it's pretty simple. I sell donuts. We're not about direct selling on social media. It doesn't work that way. So, and I should have used cake. You're right. Okay, so, and that kind of gives you a bit of an explanation of how each channel is being used kind of well, I suppose. Okay, so I've got a couple of examples here of how to do it wrong. So I want you guys to point out for me how this is done wrong. These 2 examples that are up here. Okay, tell me why they are terrible examples of social media posts. Cecilia says the previous slide is a brilliant explanation. You are very welcome. It's a great breakdown. Neither one is a good example, okay? So just have a look. Tell me why you would be turned off by seeing this as a promotional post. And they're both organic posts, okay? Monique says the links are not labeled and they could be dodgy. Tracy, you're very welcome. She says, I love that cheat sheet. Thank you. You're all good. Okay, no download button, Fatima says. That's fair. Can't see how to register as a business. That's also fair. Okay, so I'm talking about the structure of the content. Okay, so let's look at Bunny Puzzle Cube on the left-hand side. So only 15 minutes left to get your bunny bucks for 53% off. Sale ends soon, so don't miss out on gripping bunny puzzle action. Install this app at your favorite app store. Download now. Okay? First things first. Lindy, exactly. You're 100% there. Yvette, you're also there. Okay, so Byron says Comic Sans on the first image for one. I wholeheartedly agree. Nobody likes Comic Sans. It is the forgotten love child of typography. So, okay, so first thing, download now and win big. It's a direct selling, okay? They're direct, it's pushing for a call to action. Exactly, Chris is saying as well. There are 2 calls to action, okay? Download it for 53% for 15 minutes left. It is an unsponsored post, so I don't know how they expect people to see it. The image is really unappealing. There's been no thought put into it. If you want to drive action, you've got to be a little more clever than that. So now if we look at number 2, Tiger Therapy, okay? Here it says, be sure to watch the number 1 rated show about the feelings of big cats every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Firstly, the audience is far more expansive than this, okay? So it would be across different time zones. I would assume that it's an American show. Difficult to get people to all tune in at the same time. They're using the wrong time for some of them. Richard says, no hashtags, boring, no clear-cut call to action. Sue says, not great explanations. You guys are all on the money, okay? You'll never guess what Gary, Sonia, and Dr. Stripes are up to next. I like that his name is Dr. Stripes, though. Is that the tiger? Okay, so, oh no, it's Gary. Gary's the tiger. So be sure to also buy our Season 1 DVD set from our Tiger TV store. What do they want people to do? It's watch the show, but also buy the DVD, and here's a link. Is that the show or the DVD? And the image, I mean, could be seen as a little bit controversial. No one likes caged cats, right? Oh, Lindy, exactly. Lindy says that cat is sad. Poor kitty. It's a very large kitty. Okay, so they're all over the place. Okay, so guys, actually recently Facebook conducted a study, okay, that concluded with a huge amount of Facebook users preferring Facebook ads over intrusive, overly promotional page posts that are shared organically and displayed in their news feeds, okay? So these are pushing product, but they're also, it's kind of spammy because they're trying to push content or push an advert as content, okay? People are making a strong distinction between organic posts and adverts, okay? So in that study, people preferred using when advertisers used Facebook ads, okay, because then they could identify the difference. Actually, if you have any examples yourselves, guys, give me an example that you can think of where they just push their product on social media at you. Let me know what you think. I personally am most offended by the Comic Sans, but that's maybe personal preference. So type in those examples for me there, guys. So we're going to move along while you do that. But what I'm going to do now is break down into five little steps of what you can do in order to build up that strategy, okay? And what we can do in the next lesson is walk through it step by step. I'm just going to kind of share them with you now. Okay, so first things first, buyer persona, which you guys should be familiar with by now. There is setting objectives, okay, your social audit, your competitor analysis, and picking your approach, okay? So buyer persona we've covered in depth on other parts of the course, so I'm not going into it. I'm gonna, if you guys have any questions about it at the end of the lesson, I'm more than happy to go over them then. But right now, you start with your buyer persona, you know who you're trying to target, okay? You need to set those objectives. How are you going to target them? What are your goals? Okay? So you need to pick one of three outcomes, okay? Outcomes. You need to align with your business goals as well. What is your business trying to achieve? Do you want to increase engagement? Do you want to get your customer to your website? Or do you want to build brand awareness? Now, this is dependent on the campaign you're running. This is not necessarily dependent on your entire social channel, okay? You don't have to just pick one goal for your social channel. It's per campaign. Alrighty, so you do need to pick which one best suits what you want to do with that particular campaign, okay? What we need to do is make that strategy smart, okay? You need to be able to measure it. You need to have achievable goals. It needs to be relevant to your audience and to your goal, okay? You need to keep in mind what that time limit is for you for this particular goal to be achieved, and you need to be really specific about it. Is anyone familiar with SMART goals? Okay, so guys, you need to set social media goals that complement your existing business and departmental goals, okay? In order for you to be able to demonstrate social media's value, you need to measure it as it relates to your broader business goals, okay? You need to measure that ROI in accordance with the other goals, not just come up with random measurements that you're sure to achieve, you know, like your likes and your whatever. So when we talk about increasing social media engagement, and I'll break it down for you guys at a later stage, okay? We're talking about likes. You need the metrics. There are a couple of different metrics you can use to measure those. And what I'll do is I'll actually put it into the next lesson for you, okay? I'll break those down. Chris says, I love SMART goals. It's just in Corsi, it's just a method of approach, okay? It's just so that you can approach your goals correctly, okay? So what we're going to do now, we're going to talk through your social media goals and how they solve the challenges you might be faced with. Lilita says in South Africa they teach SMART goals in a subject called life orientation. My goodness, I remember life orientation. Don't want to give away my age there too much. Okay, so here are some of the biggest challenges that we could have on social media, okay, or that social media can solve for us. So we've got poor customer service, okay. We've got weak brand awareness where people don't really know who we are so much. We've got decreasing retention, so people are coming, buying, but they're not staying. Okay, and there's low website traffic. So now these are things that social media can help you with in buckets. Okay, so what, again, as I said, you need to align your social media strategy to your greater goals. You need to align your content strategy to what you want out of social media, okay? And I'll give you guys a breakdown of the content strategy in the next lesson as well. Okay, so these are the 4 goals that we're aiming for, okay? So we've got traffic, we've got following, if we want people to follow us, interaction, and which is going to solve decreasing retention, okay, and revenue, okay? So if you're looking to generate traffic, guys, your metrics should be unique visitors from social media campaigns, okay? So how many people, it's the first time they've come to visit your website and they're being directed from an advert that you're running on a social channel, okay? That's the easiest way to run it. Richard says, you're 21, everyone knows that. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult. Okay, cool, guys. So if you're measuring traffic, the flow of traffic to your website, this is how you measure it, okay? That's where it'll be a real substantial measurement for you. Okay, so interaction. So your secondary goal, interaction. If you're trying to build interaction on your social channels or for your greater strategy, okay, you can measure that by the amount of tweets that are made about you, how many times you're mentioned, okay? You can, there's comments as well, comments on your social channels, mentions on any social channels, whether it's on your personal pages or not, and the replies to comments that people have posted on any social channel as well, okay? Next, we're looking at a following, okay? If you're looking to create a following, your metric should be subscribers, followers on your social channels, and the size of audience, okay? But it's not just your audience, okay? It's the amount of engaged following, or I suppose that's part of your interaction as well, okay? Next, in terms of your revenue, okay, if you're looking to generate revenue, which is kind of ultimately our greater purpose, right? You're going to want to be measuring your metrics, or you're going to, oh my goodness, you're going to want to be using the metrics of basically the precise dollar or rand or euro value of every single lead a post generates, okay? So however many people complete an action that you're aiming to having have fulfilled, whether it's a purchase but usually this is leads, okay? So the amount of people that go from your social media to signing up for a newsletter or making it or downloading something, this is where you work out the monetary value of every lead, okay? Oluwafemi says, how about share for interaction? That is not a bad one as well, okay? You do want to, yeah, definitely, okay? So when it comes to taking on a social audit, guys, so those are your goals, right? So now the next bullet point we're going to talk about is social audits, right? So when it comes to taking on these social audits, you're going to want to take a look at your current strategy, okay? Just remember, this is all an overview. I'm going to break it all down much better in the next lesson, okay? We're going to go through every single step. So you also want to look at where you are present on social media. You know, what channels do you currently use? You have to audit yourself in order to know exactly where you're standing in the whole process, okay? Are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you doing things that you should be? Are you doing things you shouldn't be? This is just taking an inventory of where you are. It's taking stock of where your performance is. It's not positive or negative, it just is, okay? So, where are you present, right? And more importantly, are your current undertakings optimized? So everything that you're doing, have you optimized the links that you're sharing? Have you ensured that you're using the right or targeting the right audience in your ads? You haven't just got broad audience targeting. Are you directing to the right landing page when you're advertising on social? Are you sharing content that counts, content that adds value? You know, or have you got your metrics off kilter? Have you got your ratio off kilter and you're sharing too much about selling? Also, guys, I would actually even go so far as to Google your company to see what comes up for it, okay? Are people engaging with your page? Okay, are they saying what you want them to, or are they doing what you want them to? If not, how are they interacting? Are they liking and commenting on posts, as opposed to retweeting and embedding or sharing and promoting? Like, what are they doing? Are they sharing links from your website to social, and are they able to do it so easily? Okay. Do you have social widgets easily available on your web content, on your web pages? Are you consistent? Are your pages functioning as highly as they can be? Are your images all the same across your channels? Have you done a speed test? Are your functions well defined? Are the goals laid out for each channel? Are your communications scheduled? Have you got weekly reporting set up on each? Have you got analytics? So I know that's a headful, but it's all important stuff, okay? Have you got consistency across the board? Okay? And your total goal recap. Are you looking at today versus last year? Are you looking at how far you've come? If you haven't set up any of this, if you haven't set up a strategy before, don't worry too much. It is worthwhile having a look back. Don't judge yourself too harshly for it. But it is important to have a measuring stick, okay? So we will do a bit of a social media audit on in the next lesson. I will show you how to perform one on your own Facebook page. If anyone would like me to use your Facebook page as an example, I'm more than happy to do that. So send me the links to your Facebook pages, okay, or your Twitter, your Instagram, anything. I'll have a look over them, okay. Guys, you need to locate and document all of your social media profiles, your official and your unofficial ones, okay? You need to check for completion of all details on your profiles and for consistency in the images and in your message across the board, okay? And you really do need to compare your performance, okay? So that's your goal recap. Right, so for your approach, when we make the approach, okay, we're talking about the quintessential where, what, who, and when. I don't know if these are gonna. This is your social audit still, guys. So, what platforms are you on? Where do you need to go? What are you posting? What is your content ratio? What are you saying, and who are you saying it to? Is it valuable? Okay, is it in alignment in accordance with what your buyer's interests are? What are you writing? What type of content are you creating? Does it appeal to your audience? And what are your limitations? Okay, this is more about your content than anything else. This isn't about your overall strategy. What are your limitations? Have you got financial limitations? Are you only blogging? Does your brand, booklet say that you can only use a certain type of image? And you need to know exactly where you stand and what you are expected to create and what you can do within those parameters. Okay, so there are tools for comparison when we talk about competitor analysis, all right? I'll finish up very, very shortly here, guys, but we'll talk about this in the next lesson and I'll show you a bit of an example on these. Apologize for the pixelated gecko there. But guys, these are really, really good pages to use. Now, you also have, this is in relation to social mentions, so I'll show you that as well. But you can basically check out what your competitors are doing. Okay, you guys, more than anyone else, you'll know who your competitors, your direct competitors are, but you will be able to find competitors in the greater field. Okay, so you'll be able to find, like, if you're selling shoes, you can still compare to Nike. It's just to get an idea of how they're doing it and how you can do it better. So here are just a couple of pointers. Okay, when you are looking at your competition, do not replicate. Don't replicate what they're doing. Improve it. Okay. Improve on what they're doing. Compare performance. It's really important to do this. You can see you will most likely have the same target market, so you do need to compare the performance of your posts against theirs. Identify their weaknesses and their gaps, but also yours, okay, and where they're doing right and you're not doing right, and learn from their mistakes and their disasters.